Okay, so it's still hot outside and I don't want to do a whole lot of cooking, but I didn't think about maybe videotaping this. Quick, easy, like the whole thing is taking me half an hour for dinner and dessert. So let me show you what I've done so far and how I'm bringing it together. Now, this is going to seem like an ad for Pampered Chef just because I have so much of their stuff. So this is a can of olives and I don't know, probably about half a cup of chopped up marinated artichoke hearts, which I use this chopper from Pampered Chef. You can get ones like this everywhere. Like I said, you're going to think I have Pampered Chef just because of this, but this is all going to go in this pan right here. This pan, before that items, is a chopped onion, a whole, just a good sized chopped onion, and a couple of those like pre-cooked like kielbasa type things cut into little pieces there, about a tablespoon, and I mean a generous tablespoon of chopped garlic. And then I had this little jar of pesto right here that honestly I get it from the dollar store. It's kind of thick though, so sometimes I'll take a little bit of the liquid from the marinated artichoke hearts and just stick it in there for a little extra juice to kind of help it move around. These pans are both already off, so then I'm just going to take my bow tie pasta that I've already boiled back here, toss it in the pan too, and I don't even care if a little bit of that pasta water comes over with it, because that also kind of helps loosen things up and get it going. You might hear the ticking of my little thing over here. That's how long until dessert's ready. And I literally got off work, did this all in about half an hour. I mean, cook time is half an hour, so right now I'm only at about half an hour because it took me about 10 minutes to prep, and that's how much time I've got left. So I just pulled that all out of there with the little spider. This is what a lot of people call it. And then literally just toss it all. That's it. That's all. If you want a little bit of spice, you could add in, which I usually do, a little bit of sambal. Let me see if I can reach the sambal here. Wow. Talented. Because Kevin likes things spicy, and I don't mind a little bit of kick either. So this is just chili garlic sauce or sambal. Throw a little bit of that in there. Watch me make a mess trying to put a lid on one-handed, because I also did not think to grab my actual tripod for this. So there we go, back to this. So because we want to get that mixed in, I probably should have put that in there before I put in the pasta, but I didn't. So just stir. Excuse my dirty stove that needs to be cleaned again because I work too much. And honestly, I clean what has to be cleaned. And some things get put off until it's really bad. Like, you know, the stuff that... Well, actually, it's not that bad right now, but it's not clean by any means. If I actually had some feta or grated Parmesan, I would throw it in here too. I don't. So, this is literally it. So, a can of olives, about half a cup of chopped artichoke hearts, a big old kielbasa sliced up, or a couple if you want more meat in there, a jar of pre-made pesto, because there's nothing wrong with that, a chopped onion, and there you go. There's dinner. And maybe I can splice together pictures and kind of like a montage with what I did for dessert. But basically, I got up 2 really big apples, seasoned them, put them in these mini cast irons I have, made a crust, and put it on top so that we have 2 little homemade apple crisps for dessert. I swear, I feel like I'm sweating to death. So this jar of artichoke hearts is now empty, but do you see how much liquid is left in there? There's little bits of the seasoning. There's probably little bits of artichoke heart. Don't throw it away. Add some more herbs. Add some garlic, some basil, some stuff like that, and use it as a salad dressing because it's already pretty well seasoned. But if you put things like chopped up sun-dried tomatoes, Maybe some capers would be really good in there. I have capers in the fridge usually. And just kind of add to it. Maybe even a little bit of balsamic vinegar or some olive oil mixed in with it. Actually, it's probably already oil, isn't it? I think it's marinated in oil. So maybe some balsamic vinegar and some herbs. Just shake it up. That jar's kind of big. I'll probably stick it in a little pesto jar. Because, you know, there's a little bits of pesto that's still in there. So that's basil goodness. So why not just throw the rest of the liquid from the artichoke hearts into that basil jug, into that pesto jug. Add a couple more things, shake it up. Salad dressing. I mean, I know I'm not eating salad tonight. Clearly, I've got a big old thing of pasta over here. And it's too hot for me to be in this kitchen much longer. But like I said, I will see if I can manage. I've never tried before. So I'll see if I can manage to montage the pictures together that I took of how I assembled the cobbler and add it to this as well. Other than that, have a great night, everybody. To make the mini cobblers, I started out with 2 pretty big Granny Smith apples. You can really use any kind of apple that's good for baking. I prefer a tart apple when I'm making a cobbler, just so that it's not too sweet in the end. Although you could really use just about anything, depending on your preference. So I cored them, sliced them into thin little slices, and then I tossed the apple slices with half a teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of allspice, and half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and just kind of tossed it until they were well coated. Then I divided those apple slices into the 2 pans. And these are the Pampered Chef 5.5-inch mini cast iron skillets. You can use any small cast iron pan or even baking dish, like a little ramekin or something, whatever you have on hand, whatever works for you. Then I took 1 stick of butter and melted it in the microwave and added to that half a cup of oatmeal, uncooked, half a cup of flour, half teaspoon each of the same 3 spices, so cinnamon, nutmeg, and allspice, and a pinch of salt and a tablespoon of sugar. And I just mixed that up really well. And then I divided that in half and put half on the top of each of the 2 cast iron pans. At that point, I did put them on top of a cookie sheet, and I know my cookie sheet looks gnarly. It's gross. It's old. It's rusty. Whatever. It's my drip pan. I use it whenever I just want to make sure that if anything bubbles over, which in this case it didn't even bubble over, but I put it there just in case. So I put those in the 375 oven. I initially set the timer for 30 minutes, as I mentioned previously when I did my quick how did I throw this dinner together part of this video. But I didn't feel like they were quite brown enough on top. And honestly, they probably could have gone a little farther. So they ended up being in the oven about 35 minutes. Probably could have gone 40, maybe even 45. Just depends on the level of doneness that you want it. But when I put on the crust, I didn't completely cover the apples. And so the apples on the edges were starting to get a little dry. And I didn't want them to get more dry. So I did take them out at 35 minutes. It would have been great to top those off with some ice cream while they were still warm, maybe, or some whipped cream. I didn't have either one. And in the end, I didn't really feel like eating dessert by the time I got done with dinner. So they're in the fridge, and I am most likely going to eat that for breakfast in the morning.